Welcome to the Trichome's weekly roll-up, where we cover the latest in federal legalization topics and cannabis news headlines. This week in cannabis, President Biden officially renominated Dr. Robert Califf as Commissioner of the Food and Drug Administration. And the GOP formally entered the cannabis reform arena by filing a proposal titled the States Reform Act. The South Carolina Republican Party, home for the bill's sponsor, Representative Nancy Mace, immediately condemned her actions, the bill, and broader legalization, to which Mace spelled out on national television how cannabis helped her overcome her experience with sexual assault and how cannabis helps veterans. And now, here are your hosts, John Bond and Jared Duggins.
What is happening, my man?
Hey, good to see you once again, John. We're here for the third weekly roll-up, and yeah, we're trying something new, and from here, I'll let you take it a little bit and tell them a little bit about and who we got going on.
Absolutely. So live from the 6, I'm up here in Toronto. It's at Lift & Co. It's probably the equivalent for most that are unfamiliar with the Canadian cannabis space, the MJ BizCon or Hall of Flowers of Canada. So that's a really good time. There's a lot of similarities and subtle differences between United States and American and Canadian cannabis. So it's been cool. We've been up here hanging out with customers. And in terms of like excited, I mean, dude, we've got a living legend joining us on the show today, Jason Beck, and I'll give his background here. But he's longest standing continuous operator, retail cannabis in the United States. He is probably known from Cannabis Policy in his room on Clubhouse, which is the State of Cannabis. I know him as my good friend and personal friend. But he is an absolute living legend in the space. So I'm stoked to hear his thoughts. And I think the world is ready to hear his thoughts on the States Reform Act as we start moving into it. So that being said, where's my guy at? There he is.
There he is.
Jason, what's happening, dude? Can you hear us?
Hey, Jason. Hey, there we go. You're mobile.
Boom. Can you hear us?
Oh.
Jason, can you hear us, bud? I think this is what it would be like if we were a jar of weed and someone was looking into it. This would be like the vantage point, right?
Yeah.
I think we lost him.
I think we lost him on that one. We'll wait to get him back on.
Totally.
Because really, I know within the local politics and stuff.
There's very few people I know that are more informed on what we want to talk about today. But that being said, how are things this week, man? It's something that I actually saw come up, actually just came across my desk. That looks like there was a lab in Michigan that was altering test results, and there was a whole lot of products being pulled off the shelves, which is just, I can't even imagine the level of detriment and how big of a fire drill that is for retailers. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, I did. It's being dubbed the largest recall in legal recall history. I know there's a couple of large ones out here in California, but Michigan is taking the cake on that.
Dude, I'll tell you what, man, I remember, at least from my time when we had our cultivation pre-Dutchy days, I remember that happened to a couple brands in Nevada early on. And it's a tough thing when it's a brand. It's an even tougher thing when it's a lab and they've touched every brand, and it's a big one at that. And not going to name the name, but everybody can search that one online. But it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Fortunately, I know, at least from our instance, we're lucky we have the ability to help support our retailers and backtrack on that with like state seed to sale tracking stuff. So that's a huge piece of it. But there's a lot of things running amok right now in the state of Michigan cannabis. Jason, what's happening, brother?
Hey, how's it going, man? I had to come outside to get some better service, apparently.
All good, man.
Sorry for the delay.
All good, dude. Palm tree vibes are better anyways, man. Where you at right now? You in LA?
Yeah. I'm outside outside my building.
Absolutely, man. So I gave an intro and I kind of butchered it because I'm here at Lift and Co. and we were just smoking a joint downstairs before I came up, and I had like, here's how I want to introduce my friend. But the way I feel about it, obviously, people know you from Cannabis Policy. You're the longest continuous retail operator in the U.S. and obviously my great personal friend. And I think the whole world is waiting to hear how Jason Beck feels about the States Reform Act.
Well, I am a big, huge fan of the States Reform Act. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of the States Reform Act. I'm so proud of all the work that has gone in to creating the bill. It's the first real sensible piece of legislation that I've seen that's been introduced in Congress. And so I can't say enough good things about the bill. I'm really excited for that to be introduced in Congress. I'm so excited.
Totally, man. And honestly, as somebody that I would consider to be, I wouldn't say underinformed, but there's a lot to consider. I always feel how you feel about these types of things because I know that you're glued to it every day and you've been such a big part of it for so long, man.
Yeah, I got my start very early on, understanding first that medical cannabis was a political issue before it's ever a business or an industry or anything like that whatsoever. And I've always known that we are never truly a real industry until we finally have federal legalization.
Totally, man. And man, I just realized like we got a lot of listeners out there, and I don't know if everyone truly knows the legend of Jason Beck. And I would love if you gave kind of a 30,000-foot flyover of you and your journey over the last now 30 years as the longest cannabis retail operator in the U.S., man.
Well, let's do, since you want the longer version, we'll start it out as I was born at John Muir Hospital in Walnut Creek and had to be airlifted by helicopter to San Francisco Children's Hospital because they did not have the equipment to keep me alive in the first place. Doctors said that I would not live, and that if I did live, the whole right side of my body would be paralyzed and I would never walk. I was born with cerebral palsy. I was later adopted on Valentine's Day of 1979. By a wonderful couple. My mother that raised me was a registered nurse, and so I just have done a lot of crazy things. I played high school football for Pittsburgh High School. We were the last team to beat De La Salle, and then I was homeless from 15 to 21, and literally turned a pager into a storefront. So it's been one hell of a ride. I've been rated 3 times by the DEA. Over the years, I've fought every single governmental branch of government that you can fight from on a state side as well as on a federal side over the course of these years. And I will say it has been one hell of a ride. I was on Terrence Hallinan's medical cannabis task force in San Francisco when he was the district attorney. I was also on Kamala Harris's Vice President Kamala Harris's medical cannabis task force when she was the district attorney in San Francisco, and it really created a lot of the initial policies that really incubated the industry at its infancy state, which have transcended to what we all are able to all benefit off of today. Oh, also one other point too. I was also a finance chairman and point person on cannabis policy and messaging for Congressman Rohrabacher, and together we came up with the Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment, which was the federal appropriations bill that stopped DOJ and DEA from extrapolating federal funds to go after state licensed cannabis businesses. And that is the single piece of federal legislation that's been in place since it was passed first initially, that has allowed for the industry to grow to what we all see it across the country today.
Wow. Totally, man. Yeah, dude, it's crazy. And I remember when you and I met, it's probably in the last couple years. And I remember like I'd known of Jason Beck as, owner of AHHS WeHo, right? And then obviously I had heard you on the cannabis policy stuff. And then I heard you talking about Bay Area hip hop. And I was like, who is this fucking dude, man? He's the most versatile human I know. This guy knows more about cannabis policy than anybody I've ever heard of. The guy is the longest retail operator, has been through the shit in cannabis in California, and has got one of the strongest hip hop games. I was like, where's this guy come from, man?
I used to grind when I was homeless from 15 to 21. I grinded all over the Bay Area. I used to grind on Grant Magazine in South Vallejo. They used to call me and my buddy the White Boys on Grant. And just all over on all these different turfs throughout the Bay Area. So I'm very well versed in the hip hop world. Grew up with a lot of people that actually ended up becoming rappers, and some rappers my friends have actually funded have become major successes, such as like artists like Baby Bash.
Totally. Nice. Right. And the real ones stay connected, man. So what's What's going on with your week, man? How's your week been?
Week has been great. I just had a couple of earlier meetings to secure a few things down going forward for the next year. Had a cultivation meeting with a cultivation that we're building out in San Bernardino. Had a team meeting just before this, and so got a lot of great things in the works, and excited for 2022.
My man, a lot of things
Nice.
going on
Yeah,
as always, and
yeah,
so now that I feel like we've kind of set the stage and everyone understands, who we have here with us, man. Let's jump back into the States Reform Act, because I really think
yeah.
there's a lot of things to dissect. And Jared, I'll let you. I feel like I've been talking the whole time, man. So you
Oh,
catch me on the back heels on a Friday, dude.
this is the point. This is
Yeah.
Totally, man.
Mr. Beck was someone that John was really excited about bringing on, and so Jason, glad to formally meet you, kind of face to face here.
You too, Jared. Pleasure.
Do you remember? I actually tracked down your number. I looked you up, and then I think I reported to you that I found your number via IG, and you found out that your one phone number was on
Yes.
IG. I told you I'd lose the number if you wanted to, but
No,
here
yeah,
we are.
you're the one that taught me that you could actually find someone's number through Instagram. I am not the technological genius that some may make me out to be. Like I hate email. I'm really good at texting though.
Yeah,
Really good at texting. Me too,
yeah. I
dude.
just wanted to
Must-
reintroduce myself, and I told you, hey,
Yeah.
if you want me to wait till someone else introduces us, no problem. We're gonna meet again, friend.
Yeah. No worries, bro. No worries. Like I said, I was just shocked. I was like, that was just the weirdest, and it was the first time that it happened to me that someone had got my number from social media like that. I was like, I didn't even
Yeah.
know that my number was on the. I was like, how's that even linked to my page? How does that even work?
Yeah. Oh, well, yep. I was listening to you on Clubhouse and hearing the history behind that. And I just wanted to reach out because, earlier wanted you on one of the podcasts, but we knew there'd be time and we'd
Yeah,
catch up. So,
most definitely. And now
all
we really
things,
have something even more to talk about with this new legislation being introduced.
oh yeah.
dude.
Yeah. Well, and this week it was a lot, it really stirred things up with that GOP bill being introduced.
Hmm.
Right. And then President Biden renominating Dr. Robert Khalif as
Yep.
the Commissioner of Food and Drug Administration. He's a cannabinoid-friendly doctor.
Hmm.
And then so we've got States Reform Act, and then Schumer stuck his head back in and said, "Hey, we've got the bipartisan support over here. Don't forget about us. Don't forget about us."
Yeah, and I hear they're still going to be introducing that bill, and
Mhm.
I've also heard that their erroneous tax structure of the 10% excise tax to scale up to 25% excise tax over the course of 5 years, I've heard is being drastically reconsidered because of the introduction of this new legislation. But those are just words and what I'm hearing, and the proof is in the pudding, and I can't wait to see what they decide to throw out there in the mix.
Right. Wonder what they were smoking when they're thinking a 10% to 25% tax.
Hey, I mean, obviously they took a page out of California's book, gross over
Totally,
taxation.
man.
Yeah. It's a sad story
100%.
out here.
It's like, hey guys, we'll get rid of 280E for you, but then we're just going to slap on this 25% excise tax.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
come on, guys.
No.
We're better than this.
$80 out the door eighths, and nothing you can do.
I don't
about
mind
it,
$80 out
It's
the
like,
door eighths. I mind the
for
high
good weed,
extreme
though.
tax rates. I mind the
Sure.
high extreme tax rates that are associated with the $80 eighth, because that $80
Totally.
eighth should only be probably like a $55 eighth once you remove all the erroneous taxes throughout the supply
Right.
chain that it takes to get to the shelf.
Right.
Preach,
Absolutely.
man. Absolutely. That's really what it is. And it's tough
Yeah.
because like consumers hold that against the retailer, which isn't fair. It's not the retailer's fault. It's not the brand's fault. It's the taxes that are associated with it. It's not like you want to charge that much, but the cost of growing great weed is still the same.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't fault the consumers for feeling that way, because that's their point of contact
Absolutely.
with the cannabis and with the brands. And all those erroneous taxes, all they do is fuel an illicit market, and the illicit market is flooded right now in California, and I'm sure like throughout the country as well, because California has been supplying the nation with 80% at least of its cannabis for the last 80 years. So why is that going to stop now?
Oh yeah.
Right. Croptober's been a thing, will always be a thing.
Yep.
Man. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like, it's not fair to make people that are doing things the right way compete with people that don't have to pay taxes. You know what I mean? And it's like there's a lot
Exactly.
better than anybody. the blood, sweat, and
Yep.
tears, man. And look, we
Yep.
all have love for all sides of the cannabis space, man. But when it comes down to what it's become, it's like there's a better path forward there. You know what I mean?
Exactly. We're better than this, I like to say.
Amen.
If
Yeah.
you come from cannabis over 10 years ago, you know, there's no way to have participated in anything but the gray market and or from way back in the hockey bagger days and the illicit
Yeah.
market and doing that. That's where it all came from, and ultimately it's what legitimately fueled the push, you know, and
Yep.
got behind the people of which the politicians, like you said, it's a business, right? It's not about the medical patients. It's not about
Hmm.
it being good for people, but the optic was good, and that's what a few of the
Yeah.
politicians jumped behind, and that's what gave us our time here. So now it's just figuring out how to
Well,
make it all the way legal.
yeah, and you know, one of the things too, I think that a lot of people may fail to forget or fail to realize or understand is that the only reason that we ever had medical marijuana in the first place was only because of the HIV and AIDS epidemic hitting the gay community so hard back in San
Right.
Francisco and West Hollywood during those 80s and 90s. Otherwise, we would still live in a draconian drug policy still to this day. And so it's
Absolutely.
always important that we always remember where we came from in the sense that the AIDS epidemic is really the reason that we have medical marijuana in the first place and now adult use cannabis.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, it gave us the ability back when the laws were out there, medically speaking, to put together some of these recs and actually do things for the right reasons and give that away. You know, uh, I've said it once or twice before. I was the first kid on my block with the 100 lighter. You know, in 2009,
Hmm.
2010, I was working with Lanny Swerdlow out here and a few of the other people that were part of the Desert AIDS Project and the Orange County Spinal Cord Injury Networking Group and that kind of stuff. And it's been something that it has to be a part of it, right? This
Yeah.
is literally what it was about. It's the medical I use every day. It's part of my mental health. It's part of what keeps my keel even.
Hmm.
And realistically, you know, when it boils down to it, it's what got us here, right? It's what started the things up. And
Yeah, dude. Especially when we're so highly aware of what the havoc that the opioid epidemic wreaked on our society for 20 years, man. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Still
you
is.
know,
Still is with
still is,
fentanyl now.
still is,
Fentanyl is like the number one threat to national security right now, as
dude.
far
right,
as domestically.
Right. And
oh
it's
yeah,
like, you know, when you think about all of that, right? And there's bigger things that are being solved here than just, you know, I mean, sure, it's unfortunate. I shouldn't say it's unfortunate. It's definitely a byproduct that all things are driven by capitalism and money, right? And so
right,
the taxes and the taxation are what continues to push things forward. But it's nice that so many of these things from like a social justice and social equity and medical piece are going to be elevated by that and thus have
Hmm.
more of an opportunity to succeed. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it's like, well, see, I'm curious, dude. So how do you feel about the particular piece of it being, you know, considered a commodity and overseen by the agricultural department?
I've always wanted that. I used to always
Yeah,
make jokes when I would go out to DC. It was like, and I would pass the Department of Agriculture, and I'd do like a Snapchat or something. I'd be like, "Oh, walking to the Department of Agriculture to get my cannabis cultivation license." You know, so that
totally.
is the right agency to be doing that. I do believe that cannabis is a commoditized crop. I mean, all of our natural resources are commodities in that sense, and so there's no reason that cannabis should be treated any differently.
right,
Totally,
right.
man.
Well, and
And, you
out
know,
It's
here,
just
and
a plant.
right?
right.
And really, the FDA has already said out here in California they don't want anything to do with it, right? It's not in their purview.
Well, that legislation limits a lot of the enforcement mechanisms that FDA would have because FDA could really screw everything up. So, like for
Right,
example, if for some reason something happened and we dropped down to Schedule 2, that would have dire consequences on the industry because Schedule 2 drugs are highly regulated by the FDA, and the FDA already has drug preclusion on Marinol for THC and Epidiolex for CBD. So and then you also have the Food, Drugs, and Cosmetic Act, and every single cannabis product in a retail store is either a food, drug, or cosmetic. And so therefore the FDA would be able to shut everything down if the wrong type of legislation is enacted and they're given the type of powers that their agency is accustomed to. And so it was necessary to make sure that in this legislation that there were protections and boundaries put in place on what FDA actually has jurisdiction on when it comes to this agricultural commodity.
Right. And it's like I just saw a note in the net chat there. Anything but the ATF is what someone just put in
Well,
there.
the ATF
And
actually is part of ATF is part of
right.
in that bill, and they are the right agency to oversee. I mean, they oversee tobacco, so why
Right.
shouldn't they oversee cannabis?
I mean, I really think there's
You know,
no tangible path forward without them being involved. It just in terms of
there's not.
with how it's been viewed as a country and where we're trying to take it, it's like we have to take our wins where we can. And
Yep.
and honestly, like I said, why would it be any different? So, the moment we're all waiting for, right? How do you feel about its chances now that it's been introduced and we know what's included in it?
I think well, let's just say this. I don't think anything is going to pass prior to the election.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm fantastic that it's introduced. It's really going to spark a lot of great comment and thought throughout the thought leadership community around this on how these should be enacted to benefit all Americans. Because the resources that we have here are really exportable goods to numerous different markets ultimately. And to me, I'm a big proponent for interstate trade. I've always been advocating for that standpoint. It doesn't make any sense to me to not have interstate trade. There's a lot of MSOs and protectionists in the market space that want to hamper commerce down by state lines, which creates artificially higher prices and unfair competitive waivers with companies. And so I'm not for that at all. I'm all about interstate trade. And the reality of it too is California is the #1 brand in cannabis in the entire globe.
Right.
And when you think about that, that's going to be so beneficial for all of our farmers up north that are just getting hammered right now on the price.
Right.
And just stay in there, guys. It's going to be greater later, but you got to just keep through this trench.
That's what I'm saying, man. Just because there is some of the best growers in the world in the Emerald Triangle that when their weed can get sold across state lines, it's trouble for everyone else that's selling
Yeah.
boof for
Yep.
$60 an eighth off the shelf. And it's like,
Yep.
I always tell people, and we are very lucky to work with dispensaries in every state, US and Canada, dispensaries in Puerto Rico, and there's so many unique things to every cannabis market. But I tell people that cannabis in California is a microeconomy within the actual cannabis industry itself. It's like
Yes.
when you like you said, it's the big California cannabis is the biggest brand in cannabis. And
Mhm.
really, a lot of people say, as the legend may have it, that all started in West Hollywood with a guy named Jason Beck being a huge part of it. You know what I mean?
Hey.
In terms of the legal cannabis industry.
Yeah, I mean, we always used to say back in the day that I was part of the group that put the medical in front of marijuana.
Totally. And
Yeah.
and if anybody didn't catch that, he said part of the group, one of the most humble dudes in the world, because it is a group of people. And I super appreciate,
Mhm.
like, as always, dude, I've appreciated that about you. But I think that it's going to be a really cool time to see the folks that have put that type of time in from the legacy to the legit, and now we're going to see their day as we continue to push forward, man, without a doubt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Straight
It's
up,
gonna
man.
be really exciting. And I'm really excited for some of these other states that are coming online. New York's going to be coming online in a couple years.
Yeah.
Massachusetts is an amazing market. Florida, and when it comes to there'll be a lot of naysayers that'll talk about will say, oh, well, this only benefits California for interstate trade. But if you look at all industries across the country, I mean, there's certain regions that are just more fit for certain industries. Like Wisconsin has the dairy industry. California has dairy industry too, but Wisconsin is really known for that. Idaho has potatoes. You know what I mean? And all of these different industries really formulate to make what America is today and what we all know and enjoy about it.
Totally.
We've got Little Mac 86 said, I would stand in line for Humboldt, bud, and I'm disabled, LOL. It's coveted, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, as we cut out here real quick, I just wanted to acknowledge some of the people in the comments and say thank you for weighing in. Mo Mouse or Moo Mouse, hey, thanks for saying what's up. And Sarah Sizemore, you asked, is it all medical grade or food grade? And essentially that's one of the things that really kind of started, well, in Oregon and then brought down to
Mhm.
California was testing. And Jason, you want to talk about the advent of testing in California markets and what it was originally when it started back in the day, and the medical grade versus what it's come to now that it's a state governed system, and where those testing, I guess, what testing is now versus, medical versus food grade.
Well, first of all, I want to just start off by saying that cannabis is far safer than any food product in any grocery store because of the rigorous testing that is put in place. And the thought that we don't put our food through the same type of stringent things
Right,
is just mind-boggling to me.
dude.
If we're going to treat the cannabis industry this way. You know what I mean? Like I believe
Absolutely.
in like what's good for the goose is good for the gander, and there's a lot more people that consume food every day than consume cannabis every day. And so
Oh,
from
yeah.
from that standpoint, I think that is something that does need to happen. However, though, I do feel like it will cause too many gluts in the supply chain and could cause food shortages, and that might be one of the reasons that we don't have that situation. So
Right,
I don't know, but I'm also one of the people that also really believe that all use is medical use,
right.
regardless of whether you whatever reason you think you're smoking for, regardless of whatever that is, there is still certain things that is happening within your body that actually help you and are beneficial to you, and so therefore, to me, all use is medical use.
Totally. And the other undeniable truth that you mentioned there is I've always said that the fruit you buy at the grocery store is a lot dirtier than the cannabis you're buying at a dispensary that somebody has
Hmm.
gotten lab tested. It is a
Yeah.
lot dirtier,
Hmm.
and it's wild.
But
Yeah.
And then for interstate trade, we're going to have to come up with some type of federally standard thing because we can't
Have
Right.
have
to.
interstate trade and have a hodgepodge of different testing requirements from state to state. Like, you
Nope.
can't have a vape cart that tests clean in Oregon and then it wouldn't test clean in California being sold on California shelves. That just doesn't make sense. So there's going to be, I'm
Right.
sure when federal legalization comes in, there'll be a big shakeup within the testing community overall.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And that same standard is great for measuring quality against one another, right? Too, in
Hmm.
terms of like products, like that's why a lot of folks will say like it's very difficult to scale a product line across state lines when you're doing licensing deals. And the process of growing really good craft cultivation cannabis is so finite and the details are so specific that from state to state with the same packaging and the same branding can end up being two different, experiences,
Hmm.
quality and whatever. And testing regs are different, right? Like, and
Yeah.
there's all kinds of things. I mean, just it's crazy. And most people don't take that into account when thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
No
right.
doubt, man.
After you.
What was that? Oh, no, please go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just going to add that unification of testing standards is just going to overall protect the general public, right? It's
Yeah.
whether
Well,
you like it or not. Okay.
and even from a micro level, just less retail level, you have all of these labs vying for people's businesses based off a artificial high THC percentage. And then, so once there's some type of standardization, there'll be a much better level playing field, feel in the testing market. And at the same time, too, the industry is going to have to pay for a public relations campaign with the general community to teach consumers how to actually buy cannabis based
Right.
off of terpene profiles as opposed to arbitrary THC percentage. Because the funniest part to me about it is if you walk into a liquor store um, and ask them what is your highest proof is basically the same thing as walking into a cannabis store and saying what's your highest THC. But the reality of it is that your body is only going to absorb so much THC at one given juncture. And so everything else you're just wasting.
Right. And yeah, and this may not be, this is probably a terrible time to see if like my analogy that I use in the terps versus THC argument on air, but if there's anybody to give me their opinion, I want it to be you.
Yeah.
I always tell people that, THC is like the highway and the terps are the vehicle that it's getting there on, right? You're still going to get to the same place in the same way. The speed at which you get there and how you get there and like the quickness of it is determined by the lanes in the highway or the percentage of the THC. Is that in any way close? That's what's correct.
I'd say it's more in the terps are more like how fast can your car actually go on that highway.
Got it. Okay, so
Yeah,
it's the
yeah,
inverse. I
you could be
also,
in you could
after
be in a
rolling
beat up
joints for,
Pinto only 30 miles an hour on the freeway. You know what I'm saying? With
you
some of
know,
these terps,
man,
and then as
I would
opposed
say
to that, brand new Ferrari just fresh off the gas.
right.
Right.
And I say that, and I say you'll hear me say humble a lot, man. But I've been rolling joints for 20 years, and Jason Beck weighed in on my joint rolling style last time I was hanging out with him, and I have since rolled a few joints in the style of which is preferred by my guy down there. And so I
Yes.
think the lesson behind that is always staying open to understanding whether you're right or wrong on something. Strong opinions loosely held, dude.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I care about burn flow. You know what I mean? And because that's
Burn
gonna
flow.
affect your smoke flow.
I'm
You
with
know,
that, man.
Absolutely.
and there's mechanics to smoking a joint.
There is indeed, man.
When it comes down to choosing cannabis, I think we should bring back Toucan Sam from the cereal,
Yeah,
and follow your nose as an initiative,
exactly.
right?
I've
Because
always said that. Follow your nose. You're not gonna eat something that you don't think smells good. So why are you gonna smoke something that you don't think smells good? Because it's not gonna taste good ultimately. Because you taste what you smell.
right, with
Those are connected.
with the
Yeah, man.
exception of anything garlic cookies or garlic terps, it smells like someone who hasn't showered in a couple of days that just ate spaghetti. But damned if I don't like it the best as a solventless extract.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
It's got to take you back a little bit. I've found, everyone's kind of got their sweet spots. Everyone's got a different endocannabinoid system. My sweet spot is myrcene heavy sativas, which is not that common, right? But like myrcene is just my, for terms of somebody, it's like always super. I would call myself high strung, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing like levels me out. It makes me feel, more. I guess it's the ideal feeling, right? And I love all. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not like I don't like other things, but if I had to pick, I would say
Yeah.
myrcene's my terp of choice for sure.
nice.
Totally, man.
Yeah.
What you smoking on, man? You're always smoking the best weed in the world. What do you got there?
Only the best weed in the world. That is
That's
it.
what I'm
Life is
saying.
too short for anything else.
That's what I'm saying.
Um, this is some OG actually from the legacy market.
So some
Nice.
really good weed too. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's really
I'm with
good.
it.
Yeah. This person has always been a phenomenal grower that I've worked with for decades, and we're trying to help him find a space to go into to cultivate, so then that way he can actually bring this to the market as well. But things move like government, slower than molasses. So
Yeah.
Totally. And that's probably one of the things that I'm more excited about as we get towards federal, and it's obviously decrim and how many lives that can impact immediately, right? But when you talk about like the California cannabis culture, what you can bring to the rest of the world, right? When you have the ability to go
mm-hmm.
start a sustainable cultivation that doesn't take tens of millions of dollars to raise on the front end, and being able to be in front of the licensing process and the application process, which is broken in so many places anyways as it is, right? And you can get
Mm-hmm.
those folks an opportunity where they're not under the thumb of having to turn out product and grow Costco weed. That's the and then things grow from that, and like that's the gift right there, right? And that's like
Yeah.
something I'm super excited about. That's going to be because now it's like to move state to state as an operator and as somebody, especially like either going from legacy to legit or even being legit, but trying to find a way to replicate that in another market with an entirely different set of rules and market standards and everything, right? Because cannabis is such a
Climate even.
climate.
Big
I
time.
mean,
Yeah.
it's such a hyper local business, dude. I'll never forget when we had our business in Nevada. Like, I didn't really know a ton about the California cannabis industry other than like what I was told, right? And nobody, while we were a big deal in Nevada, nobody knew who we were in California.
Yeah.
Nobody knew who we were in Arizona. And it's like, when you think about replicating that success, it'll be exciting to start seeing those things transition. And like, it's there's gonna be weed for everybody, man. You see people
Yeah.
leaving the gas station with Bud Light. You see people leaving the gas station with a really nice craft beer. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's like it's all depending on what you're there for.
It's all about what terps you want. It's all about the
I'm with it,
terps.
man. Totally, dude.
And now we get to see, right? Because Jason,
Yeah.
I'm sure you're going to remember back 1996 is when first generation of growers that I remember brought out like the real phenos, the skunk number ones, the roadkill skunk, that kind of thing. Of
Oh,
which,
dude, the skunk number one was so good, bro.
but it was bred
So
away
good,
from because you got caught growing it. All of a sudden, you go by the house and it's like this
dude.
goddamn skunk farm.
Yeah, dude. It was called it skunk number one, bro, and he used to only have like a quarter pound at a time. But the shit was so fire, and
Yeah,
I never seen him again. All of a sudden, just fell off the face of the earth. Have no clue whatever happened to the guy, but he had some of the best weed in the world.
yeah. Well,
Man.
and that'll be able to be stabilized once people are able to do this without fearing
See,
going to
I
prison.
don't know. Well, because like if the genetics are gone and like they're kind of like died out, how do you recreate it? You know what I mean? I don't know the necessary the real answer to that. Because you're gonna try to create it from its genetic parents, but are you even gonna be able to find those seeds? You know what I mean? To even start that process. So I'm not sure if that's a reality or not. Although I would love if that was possible.
Right.
I choose to remain having faith that the seeds are still out there and someone's got a library of skunk. Because yeah, the roadkill, the parents walking in and saying, God, close the window, there's a skunk outside.
Yep.
That has to be replaced. There's nothing out there on the market like it right now. And like you said, it's going to be tough to grab that. But no, I was speaking more on forward going lineage and that kind of stuff, stabilizing genetics, doing that kind of stuff. Yeah, unfortunately, a
Oh,
lot of the legacy.
that's already happening as far as people stabilizing the genetics,
Yeah,
to where you're able to get basically first generation clones every cycle. So I think that's going to be like one of the big things going forward. That's really going to secure these brands with the type of quality cannabis that they want to put out. Is having those types of businesses being servicing you.
right.
Damn right
Definitely.
indeed, man.
Yeah, I call them like the
Absolutely. So what?
Jurassic Parks of cannabis.
Yeah.
I love
So
that.
with Republican Nancy Mace, all this stuff is coming. We transferred off of this and from
Hmm.
legalization talks, right, and stabilizing and doing that kind of thing. Within what's been presented, the States Reform Act, and how the people from South Carolina, the South Carolina Republican Party chairman Drew McKissick came directly at her, and making sure that they knew that, or we knew that they didn't support her bill or her supporting this bill going forward. And then she came directly after. What do you think as far as getting bipartisan support for one of these bills? What do you think has the best chance, based upon what we know so far of history?
Well, let's just government. So let's just say let's talk about just regular bills for a second. Okay, there's a House bill, there's a Senate bill, and then that goes into a consolidation. You know what I'm saying? Of what finally ultimately passes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine that there's going to be similar things going back between Republicans and Democrats on these two bills as different talking points, and then we'll see something. You know what I'm saying? That's somewhere in the middle of both.
Yeah. Well,
But who
that being the
knows?
case, okay.
Who knows? I mean, because we'll see how people vote next November and see what happens, and with each different with the House and the Senate, and so that will all be telling as well. And then we'll have another election 2 years after that that'll be even more telling because it'll be a presidential election.
Right.
So
I'm more optimistic about the vote as being the part of that hopefully continues to drive that forward. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Without a doubt.
yeah.
Definitely. Well,
What's,
that's the thing is trying to figure out how to get people on to pick one and then try to massage it before the vote happens in
Hmm.
these periods where you can do that. So, um, yeah, within that, a lot of the times when people are listening to news or listening to conversation, that kind of thing, people, especially on our channel, have wanted to get involved and do that kind of thing. Are there, when it comes down to learning more about the bill, hey, we're out here talking about it, we're doing that kind of thing. But when it comes down to signing up for things or writing to your senators or that type of, I guess, interaction with what's going to be happening, do you have any suggestions on what you like to do or any where you like to direct people on that?
Oh yeah, no. I always support people calling their senators and their congressmen, writing them letters. All of that helps and makes a difference. Your member of Congress or the Senate definitely wants to hear it from you because you are a constituent, and those letters and calls do get a calculation. You know what I mean, as far as them measuring on which way their district feels on any in particular issue.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent free speech all the way. Like, tell them how
And
you
hit them
feel.
up directly. Hit them
Yep.
up directly.
Yep.
Nice.
Exactly.
I think that the direct outreach too is so important. You think about how quickly that quantifies and the multiplier effect that has if
Hmm.
folks do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's like
Yep.
it's a lot of outreach and
Exactly.
you know, yeah, and I think nothing speaks louder than those types of things, in my opinion,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without a
Exactly.
doubt, man.
Yeah. Make sure you get active. Make sure you vote. You know, voting is super, super important too. Like, there's probably one of the most important things you can do is make sure that you vote.
Absolutely.
Right. You bet, man. So what do you got? What's Jason Beck got going on this weekend, man?
I'm just gonna relax. Probably clean the house a little bit. You know, just nothing too crazy. You know, if there's some cannabis functions going on, I'll probably attend those. But you know,
Totally.
well, yeah,
Long
it
weeks,
was a
man. It's good to reset the mechanism a little bit. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly. There was just two large
You say
events
that
just back
you
to
say
back.
that, and I'm gonna see you on Instagram in your fur coat at some party on Saturday with like 1,000 people there. It's
Yeah.
chill. You got
Well,
dragged out, man.
well, they so the, one of those parties was like the Halloween party. Big Mike from Advanced Nutrients, he throws this
Totally.
massive Halloween party every year, um, and it was a whole carnival thing, techno vibe, and everything like that. Really fun evening. And then like the following week was Jeter Day, the brand Jeters.
Yeah,
They
totally.
had Ludacris and a bunch of other artists perform, and it was an amazing great time. And it was called Jeter Day, and it was so funny because it was at the exact same house.
Yeah.
And
Because you know you
I
get
had
those cannabis friendly event houses where they're like they're down.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
we
was like,
take
oh,
cash.
okay. I was like, yeah, I know where we're going. I remember the first party. I just remember people like everyone trying to leave all at once, and there was like a real slowdown with the valet trucks bringing you down the hill.
Yeah.
And oh man, people were getting crazy. People were trying to act like they were like, oh, I'm drunk, I'm gonna throw up.
Yeah.
It was a mess. It was a mess, but it was hysterical moment too.
Oh, absolutely, man. Am I gonna see you at Hall of Flowers at Emerald Cup?
Yeah, I think I'm doing my best to make sure that I make it to both of those events.
Totally.
I wish they
Yeah,
weren't
man.
so like a day apart from one another, but I'll definitely, if I'm not at both, I'll be at one or the other for sure.
See, the beautiful thing for me, man, is I'm flying straight from Hall of Flowers and Emerald Cups on the way home to Oregon, dude. So I'm in a good spot. It's just an
Yeah,
on the way. It'll be great.
right.
Right.
That would be yes, without a doubt, man.
Just
Without a
just makes
doubt.
sense,
Quick.
man. You and I,
Yep.
we can enjoy a glass of Casa Azul and a plastic cup together, man.
Yeah.
You know that's how we
Exactly.
do,
Yeah.
baby.
Yep. Hopefully we'll get some glasses though, but if we're stuck
You
with
know,
plastic
man,
cups, I mean,
we're not too good for it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Never too good for
exactly.
anything.
No,
That's what I'm
no,
saying, man.
we deal with what we can and make the best of it.
Totally, dude.
Well,
Well, I mean, I super appreciate having you on, brother. You're always the best, and obviously, I know that I was really excited to hear how you felt about this, and I didn't want to spoil it for myself by asking
Yeah.
you before we got on the podcast. So I appreciate you taking the time today, dude. I know you're a busy guy.
Yeah, I appreciate the time. Thank you guys so much for having me on, and also too, congratulations on your huge raise you guys just completed, man. That is a big deal, and so congratulations to you guys, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Honestly, it sounds like super cheesy and cliche, but like we get so excited about just trying to remove barriers and difficulties for our retailers to operate and making
Yeah.
it easier for them to do business. And that capital really allows us to like invest in $100 million in R&D on the innovative things that we can do to really fine tune our solution to make it so easy for operators to operate. So
Yeah.
just trying to help people sell more weed, man. And we're just lucky to be a part of it.
I love it. I love
With
it.
it,
Free the
dude.
weed.
Absolutely.
Free the weed,
Yeah.
man.
Deschedule or bust.
There
Right.
it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
For sure.
You bet.
Well, awesome, man. Thank you guys. You guys have a fantastic day and enjoy your weekend.
Hey, happy
Yeah,
Friday,
you as well,
Jason.
brother.
All right. Be
I'll
well.
see you in a
Be
couple
safe.
weeks, bud. You bet. Later.
Sounds
Yeah.
good, brother. Looking forward to it.
Yep.
Juggernaut, hope to
You
see you
bet, man.
soon, bro. All right.
Thanks.
So, man, you
Hey.
know, there's like I said, Jason's the best, man. You know, like I said, and it's great. You know, we had Steve last week, had Jason this week. We're setting a really high bar for ourselves, man, in these first couple episodes. So,
Definitely.
you know, it's a lot to live up to. Keep climbing up.
Well, hey, I also want to throw some shout outs to the comments here. You know, I see a lot of our
Absolutely.
regulars, you know, as far as Wicked Smart and Donkey Limit, 4.5 Fingers, and always participating, Little Mac, DRS Metal. You guys are always in the comments. We see you all the time too, and we've got a couple programs coming for everybody who's been supporters along the way. So please, you know, in the next couple weeks, be on the lookout in the comments for us asking you to. Yeah, if you want to contact us a little bit closer, and we've got some gear and that kind of stuff we're going to be printing out and or having made and shirts and all that kind of stuff. I want to be
Dude.
as cool as John and have a Dutchie, you know, trichomes hat here
Well,
shortly.
I got all the Dutchie gear for you in the world, and couldn't agree more, man. And honestly, if anybody has any like you know, particular questions or things that they want us to talk about, please feel free to let us know. Get at us of the many ways that you're able to. And we'd love to talk about the things that y'all want to hear about. We appreciate everybody hanging in.
Hey, yeah, and John, thank you for taking the time. I know you're traveling, and again, all the way from Canada, you know, other side of this continent right at the moment from Lift and Co. But thanks for taking the time.
Totally. You bet, man. It's great being here. Obviously, love, you know, being able to hang out and talk about the things we love, man. Have a good weekend, brother.
Hey, likewise.
Everybody listening in, appreciate y'all. You bet.
Travel safe. And everybody in the comments, thanks again for watching. We'll be back. You know, I'm not sure if we're going to be doing next Friday or not, but it'll be, you know, all for all subscribers. We'll make sure to notify you guys early. And if not, it'll be the week after we'll be back. So we'll get the notifications out quickly. But thanks again for joining us and sticking with us this whole time. Have a great weekend. Be safe, everybody.